you know what? Maybe let's do a recap because we've been off for a while. Let's do a recap of some of the things that happened.
Okay.
What do you think is the biggest news that's happened since we have ended?
Well, outside of the big
Co.
elephant in the room,
Yeah,
which
we're not going
is
to talk
the
about COVID.
coronavirus,
Yeah.
but I think the biggest thing to happen was or at least the most hyped thing to happen was the Washington Redskins
Name change.
whole, yeah,
and
name
then
change plus all the other
collapse.
stuff, and then weird collapse thing.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that first?
Yeah. So first off with the name change,
Mm.
I've always thought since I've watched football that I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this name change should happen. Like I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, I can understand.
Redskins is not.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a name. So
Mm.
like, okay, so that's something I'm obviously not against them changing the name. Then you just have to think you got to come up with a good name because if we get something stupid,
We get like Washington Wildcats.
yeah,
You're
or
like,
something like
dude.
that. It's like, come on, you could come up with something cool. You're one of a few franchises who gets to like come up with a
Do whatever you
cool
want.
new name in 2020.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many
Uh,
options.
yeah, that fan design where I know they can't do this because of copyright, but the Washington Red Tails, that would be so cool. I know they can't do that because they don't have the rights to that, but they could get those. The fan made logos there. Give that guy like a couple $1,000. That's all you need to do. Forget about it forever. You don't really even need to change the uniforms. They can go to those cool uniforms where the pants are like more of a beige color.
Right.
Or they can just keep the yellow and red. Who cares? But I mean, it's there to do something cool with. So if we end up getting like I said, Wildcats or like Washington Generals or Washington Warriors, like something cool, please.
I was
Please.
okay with Red Wolves.
Red Wolves was all right, but Arkansas State already kind of that's their shtick. I know that's different tiers of importance, but I've also seen some jersey mock-ups, which I know are just mock-ups, and usually jersey mock-ups are gross.
Yeah.
But they've actually looked pretty decent. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I fully expect it to be the most like blasé, boring name change.
I'm really thinking it's gonna be the Warriors.
It'll be the Warriors or maybe the Generals or something. Just like
not good.
Total waste that'll be for the next 10,000 years that no one will care about. So
okay, so that's name change, but then we got the big bomb of a news article that came out. Terrible, just terrible.
Yeah,
like
not good.
Like that's never a situation you should be putting any employee in. Should be putting a female employee in that situation. I think the most damning thing that came out of it was that it was reiterated to them that if you say no, I'm making an advance on you. I'm some higher up in this organization, and if you decline my advances, there's 1,000 people who will take your job. That is terrible.
It's not a good look. And also, if you look at some of the leaked, like the text conversations, some of that stuff is like cringy. Like,
oh yeah, but
like
that's like most dudes when they're fucking horny.
But how do you just not like? If you're a successful,
it's weird to think of like a 40-year-old man being like,
yeah,
let me grab your butt.
Baby. Yeah, let me.
If I bring you this Jimmy John's, let me grab that ass.
Like, what was that? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Or the one that had like a wife and kids and was like, look at my kids.
Oh.
Bang.
Oh.
Like scumbag. Like,
yeah.
What is wrong with you? like it's almost it's not funny, but it's almost like hilarious because it's so absurd that it's even like that happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. The other thing that came out of this that I've been thinking about is like, it's probably sadly not enough to get Dan Snyder out of there.
Nope. Not
because
at all.
if it just according to that article, he doesn't seem directly involved, and there's nothing that's like it's like he didn't do any of the sexual harassment. Maybe he allowed it. Maybe he knew it was happening, but that's going to be hard. That's hard to like take to court and prove that happened. He's probably getting out of this unscathed, and I think he's probably a big part of the reason why that culture is so terrible over there.
Yep. The only reason that he will sell is if the NFL forces him to sell, which they're not going to, probably. And by the NFL, I mean it has to be the other owners. And I mean they're all kind of buddy.
Right.
They made, I think his last name Jerry Richardson.
Jerry Richardson.
But that was for pretty incriminating stuff, especially at the times we live in now. And I'm not saying that like, oh, we're so soft. Just like people are less accepting of bad things because we're evolving as a society, I guess. But so that's probably not going to happen. Did he know about it? And probably. No one knows for sure. And they're going to distance themselves as much as possible from this. And the other thing is, like, it doesn't even matter what you change the name to now, because it's literally just going to be associated with the dumbness of your employees.
Is there any merit to them doing this whole name change thing? Because the name's been in. This is a bit of a conspiracy, but the name.
So they put out a press release with Washington Redskins still in the header, like still everything, and they're like, we are so sorry that we offended our sponsors, our fans, and blah blah blah. They only action happened when Nike was like, we're not going to sell your shit on our website anymore.
Is there a chance they're changing this name because they were like, maybe because they knew this news was going to come out?
They get good PR.
They're like, oh, let me change the name and try to distract everyone from this big ass news story that's about to drop.
That'd be pretty weak.
It'd be pretty weak, but I mean, the name's been an issue. The name's been an issue for years.
If that was their strategy, then they should have just took it on the chin, because they really didn't help themselves that much. Because the only reason they changed it is because Nike was like, we're not selling your stuff.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious, because Nike runs whatever. Nike runs sweatshops in Asia. Same shit. Doesn't matter. Whatever. But yeah, so it's terrible. Obviously, that's awful. There was a press conference with their GM Bruce Allen a couple years ago where he was like, culture is really good. And it's like, okay. But basically, everyone that has worked for the Redskins that is asked about the Redskins says it sucks. Kyle Shanahan said his favorite part about working with the Redskins was working with his dad, and said his least favorite part was everything else. Dan Snyder has been known to be probably the worst owner in the NFL, maybe one of the worst owners in professional sports, just in terms of getting in his own way, not trusting his staff, and just being bleh. So not a good story. Obviously, it's bigger than just sports. So it's sad that happened. It's sad that occurred. I will say people were kind of, whenever there's a big news story about to break and people are like, oh my God, this is so bad, I can't tell you what it is, but it's so bad. It's like, you don't know what it is.
I mean, there was all sorts of conspiracies coming out about what it was going to be.
Yeah.
That it was like obviously this was a huge story, and this was a huge, but some of it was hyped up like it was about to be like Jeffrey Epstein, all that fucking stuff. Dan Snyder's been ordering from Wayfair.
Yeah. The one that I found the most believable that wasn't talked about too much was the Capri Bibbs and Jay Gruden situation, where, for those who don't know, there was like a secretary or some kind of administrative work who was apparently was having an affair is not the right word. We'll say an entanglement for the times. An entanglement with Jay Gruden, and then Capri Bibbs, who was a running back on the team, also had an entanglement with this employee, and Jay Gruden was not a fan of that. So allegedly, Capri Bibbs was taken out of a game because of that, and his replacement missed a pass block, which is why Alex Smith broke his leg. I don't know if that's valid. That kind of seems like too big of it seems too big of a perfect storm, like that Always Sunny, the Pepe Sylvia thing. But I mean, anything that comes out, even if it's true or not at this point, is probably going to be accepted as fact or assumed to be fact. So not a good look for the Redskins, obviously. Clearly, they're kind of a mess as a franchise right now, even above sports. So, But like we said, the only thing that's going to make them sell, the owners make Snyder sell, and I don't think they're going to do that. So